to reduce their taxes so that their property values may stabilize from the loss of the decline. 4, the landfill presently has $11 million in taxes. I am instructing the town council to assign the town attorney to pursue the tax money from Richard B. or the DEP occupants. The tax money to be utilized for the sole purpose of removing the existing garbage that SCP has brought in, if it takes 10 years or longer, and to reassess the property to residential zoning, or sell the property to a developer for resident housing for the price of $1 if he trucks out all the material. Or create a golf course on it. At least we could tell which way the wind is blowing by this stack, the smoke coming out of the stack. Gentlemen, this is not a joke to me. This is serious. This town has cancer, stage 4, with property values. You gentlemen are all Republicans. You're opening up the door to be taken over by the Democrats. They will come in. If the property values keep on plummeting down, what's going to happen, we're going to get a lower, I'm not going to say the words, but we're going to get a different group of people into this town that are not middle-class people with lower incomes. Your taxes are going to go down. Your salaries are going to diminish. We won't have need for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on the board. We'll only need 1. I'm trying to protect your salaries, your jobs. So please, consider my requests. If you need a copy of them, I will give it to you.
That'd be fine. Thanks, Bob. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Good evening, Laurel Whitney, 7 Longfellow in Succossana. I just wanted to do some follow-up from last meeting, which I guess was 3 weeks ago now. As of last meeting, the new scrubber was not fully operational. Has it been integrated into the system as of yet?
Still not fully operational,
yeah.
from what I heard today.
I do have a response on that. It's not fully operational. It is working and it is in the system, so they are utilizing it. Along with that, people have asked about the stack test. This is from Ed Putnam. The stack test will not be scheduled until the new oxidizer is fully operational, and then it'll be 2 to 3 weeks. He's also working on an explanation in regards to starting to post the daily test sheets as well too. So we just
Have you been given an ETA as to when that would be up and running 100%?
No, we haven't. We continue to monitor, and the PPVs and the monitors are consistent with what they were last year at this time. They're continuing to operate 24/7. So some people may be under the incorrect assumption that the larger stack is, not having a larger stack is impacting the previous operations. That's not the case.
Okay. Also, there was some discussion about the environmental video last time that was posted. Many of you have not seen it as of the last meeting. Have you all seen it as of now?
It's been supplied to everybody. I don't know if they've all seen it, but if they haven't seen it, they've also been given a report from them as well as the Environmental Commission to read.
Can we know which one of you have had a chance to watch it?
Well, I'm not sure if they read it or watched it, but I wasn't planning on pulling the board at this point in time. Did you have any other specific question?
I just wanted to know what the thoughts were and if
I think this board supports the Environmental Commission all along, and we've been monitoring that area long before Fenimore was there, before the second phase of Fenimore, meaning the aspect of it. But they've monitored it. They think we should continue monitoring it, and we will. There's been some thoughts on how and why, and those will have to play out. But working with the Raritan and our environmental commission and our professionals, we're going to continue to monitor and keep a close eye.
It was just important to a lot of the
Support everybody.
citizens
Support
that,
everybody.
that the entire council and the mayor did view that video. So I just wanted to follow up on it, you know, now that you've had 3 weeks to take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
Bill Morocco, Lazarus Drive in Ledgewood. I wasn't going to mention this today, but what Bob had said before, Bob Medeiros, he raises some very good points. When I was in college, I went to college in upstate New York. Well, let me tell you about this quickly. I met some people from New York State that had never been to New Jersey. When I told them that I lived on the Jersey Shore, they said, oh, that place is polluted. Because they read in the paper that some waste had washed up on shore, hypodermic needles on the beach. A couple times. That happened back in the late 80s, you probably remember. Well, you may not want to hear this, but I work in Bergen County, well outside, Roxbury proximity. And that is the light that Roxbury has to other people in New Jersey. People I work with that had no clue where I even lived when I told them I was moving out here, now have the mindset, oh, you live by that toxic dump. The word is out, and that is the reputation of our township, whether you like it or not. Every poll that I've seen for various aspects, whether it's schools, best place to raise a family, Roxbury has been diminishing on polls from the last year and the year before. There's been a lot of chatter about that. Why is that? I don't know. But I think what Bob said is true. I think, you guys need to take control and start to spread the word about why Roxbury is a great place. I think a lot of people don't know that. And all they're seeing is the bad news. And the problem with that is you can't tell people it's safe to live here because you don't know. We don't have the staff reports. And I think it's outrageous that the DEP will not supply you the daily staff monitor reports. You can't even answer a question. Someone calls you up, should I move to Roxbury, is it safe? How do you answer that? Do you know? Does anyone up here know how to answer that question?
Right now. We're not going to get into hypotheticals right now.
It's not a hypothetical.
You have any questions? Other questions?
No, it's a problem. I think it's outrageous. It's outrageous that we've been asking for these stack tests for a year. It's outrageous the DEP won't give them to us. Have you Oprah'd them? Have you threatened a lawsuit? It's just outrageous. The whole town is suffering. Businesses are moving out of here. You don't seem to care. Or if you do care, you may care, but you're not showing us that you're willing to do anything about it. What are you doing about it?
So we were up there last week and did to the one point that you're making right now. One of the things that we asked them about the static test, and how quickly they can get it done. And I think Chris made a point, as far as when they're looking to do that. One thing we did ask them for, and we followed up 3 times since last week, was that if you can't give us a full stack test, give us a point in time. In other words, they have a little control center up in the middle of the location, and in there's the ability to actually jack in, okay, to that with a handheld and see what some of the readings are. It's not an overtime thing, though. It's a point in time, but I think that would be a nice thing to have for the residents, even if it's a point in time, to see what's coming out of it. We've asked for that now 3 times.
Fred, they have those reports for every single day of operation.
Well, they're not, unless they jack it into that one thing, Chris, can you help me out here? Unless they actually jack it into that one location that we had within that house, okay? And they showed us how to do this. I don't really know if in fact they're doing it. They have not indicated that they're going to give it to us on a daily basis. We have been peppering them to give us that report back. So
Have you Oprah'd that
we
information?
haven't opened the information. We have not done that. But we were up there a few times, and we did say, how come we can't do this, and how come we can't get those results back? And we're going to continue to, go after them.
What was the answer?
Because it makes sense.
I thought there was a promising email today that would lead us to believe that we would be getting them.
What Mr. Putnam would like is, prior to just posting those tests, is an explanation to go along with it. And I have to tell you, Bill, I know what you're saying about this community. 2 years ago, you couldn't even get out of your house. It smelled so bad. Now the community, you can get out, people are enjoying Emmons Road Fields, all of the great assets we have for this community. Yes, there are a group of people who continue to have very negative impression of this community. But I have the advantage of knowing a lot of people and knowing, as this council does, and the vast majority of this people, if you were asked if this is a great place to live, they would answer yes. And if somebody asked me if this was a great place to live, I'd answer yes.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm telling you the perception of people that don't know a lot about Roxbury
I'm sure there's a group who feel that way.
may have a little bit different perception. And I'll just close with, I didn't hear any updates on Fenimore. People are asking questions, you're kind of spoon feeding some things. If you have any more information, I'd like to hear an update maybe after the public session is over.
Chris gave an update a moment ago.
Well, he gave an update to certain questions, but I'm sure there's more that you know that you haven't told us yet. Why isn't the oxidizer operating? What was the specific problem? I'd be interested in knowing that. I'm sure you know, so.
I didn't hear of any problem, just that it's not fully up to speed yet.
Because of?
I think,
It's just not fully up to it's a transition, that's all. Good.
I asked that question, I was up there. I asked him, how come it's not fully operating? They're trying to feed the gases in a slow manner. They're keeping the old oxidizer up full time. So that's pumping in the same levels, but they're bringing up the new oxidizer very slowly. I don't know why they're bringing it up slowly, but they are bringing it up. So you have the full impact of the old oxidizer plus the new oxidizer coming up. I don't even know whether or not they're at 50% capacity yet, Phil, on the new one, but that's what they're looking to do. Now, one thing about the new one that I found out the other day when I was with Chris, the new oxidizer is a lot different than the old one. What it has almost like a, you know how the old one rusts out quickly? You know, the old material on the metals rust out quickly. This has a liner in it, like a pool liner inside. So after a certain amount of time, they can actually pull this out and put a new one in. So to me, that's a little bit better. Another thing they told us, I asked the question that you brought up previously, is how come they didn't go to another type of mechanism, the sponge? And the answer is they have to get the levels of the gases down low enough for the sponge to actually work. So those are the things that we found out the other day.
Thank you for the update, Fred.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Brenda Isherwood, Succothana. I'm asking some questions that don't necessarily pertain to me. I'm asking actually from other citizens that actually live in Ledgewood. What is the radius around the landfill where you have to disclose the landfill when selling your house?
I don't know.
It's, I don't know the exact amount, but they actually filed it with your office, right?
No, you're asking.
It's the
if I
real-
understand-
you mean a property owner?
No, if I understand it correctly, you're asking if a person in close proximity to landfill wants to sell their house, do they need to disclose that to the buyer, correct?
Correct, but it's the radius.
I don't know what that radius is, but that's between the seller of the property and their lawyer that's representing them.
So
And
there's,
not-
I have to point out, Tony's exactly right, but it's not just Fenimore. It's any environmentally, so if you
but
have a
I
service
understand
station.
that, but I'm asking
But
for
I know.
Fenimore, what is
Yeah.
the radius?
Well, it would apply, Tony's exactly right, but I want to clarify that it's not just Fenimore.
I
It's
understand.
any, like a service stations,
lines?
power lines, anything
I
like that.
understand, but what's
So a
the
lot of,
radius?
a lot of people are impacted
I
by
think
that.
Chris's point is that there's nothing specific towards Fenimore.
That's exactly right,
And
nothing
I
specific.
and I
So
think
what
that-
is
and
the-
the attorney
is there a
stated
rule?
he doesn't know the radius.
So you have to ask your lawyer what the rule is.
He's suggesting that that's the best place to ask, because we're not an attorney representing a seller of a home, so we don't want to give bad information without knowing it for sure. That's why you're always better off asking your own attorney.
Okay, so that's what I'll advise
I
them.
would suggest asking a realtor, because they're the ones that are licensed to do that.
Okay, and so then it's probably safe to say that there has not been any type of public announcement or letter indicating that a disclosure is called for then? Not by the town, not by the state, not by the county? So there's nothing
Not that I'm aware of.
written in writing like that? Okay, so then, I think that pretty much answers all of those questions. I just have a little comment about the time that it takes for the process from the state. And a joke was made about it before in regards to getting a plaque to the gentleman that very well deserves it. We're pretty much being nickeled and dimed to death in time delays in regards to Fenimore. And you guys asked and wanted to be elected to serve this town and protect. And if push comes to shove, you should be shoving back and not just sitting there waiting and going up. And I understand you're up at the landfill every now and then, but this should be like one of the main priorities on your desk every day at work. This is, unless there's a bigger problem in town that you'd like to tell me about.
No, this has been on our desk all the time.
So there's not a
for 2
bigger
years now.
problem, this should be
Okay.
the main priority on your desk every day. And you're being pushed around by the state, and we don't like being pushed around by the state. I don't know how you feel about it, but you should be as angry and upset as we are and working as hard. And we don't actually always see that. So, show it to us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anybody else in the public wish to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Meslak. I live at 37 Emmons Road, and I want to share something with you. Because you're talking about hypotheticals. And when we went to Trenton, I stopped Senator Whalen on the way out, and I handed him this because I mailed it to him, registered letter. He said he never got it. And I said, well, I'm giving it to you now. And it was personal, but I came here to read it to you because it's important. And I went to Trenton to read it. I didn't go to Trenton to look for pity from representatives. I went there because I felt I had a duty to go there. Prior to that, I read a letter I wrote to Judge Wilson, to you, and I asked it to go to Judge Wilson, and the day of the court, Councilor Bucco said he didn't get it. So I gave it to Senator Whalen. I'd like to just share it with you, what he responded. I'm going to read the whole thing, because it's been a while. On December 12, 2011, a bill sponsored by Senator Jim Whalen allowing solar fields to be installed on abandoned landfills was approved in a unanimous vote by the Senate 34-0. This law has directly or indirectly provided opportunists with a license to contaminate the air we breathe and further violate the ecologically sensitive areas they claim to restore and protect. The physical manifestations of this accusation are clearly visible, and their impact will be long-lasting, the details are vast, and the repercussions will compound exponentially the longer projects like this are permitted to continue. I was in attendance at the last hearing regarding the issues with respect to Fenimore landfill. I listened attentively, and I could not help feeling patronized as I heard a list of unacceptable excuses given for the status of the government, its agencies, and the individuals who represent them. Dr. Martin Luther King said with conviction, "It is hardly a moral act to encourage others patiently to accept injustices which he himself does not endure." I firmly believe the lack of control and sincere conviction has compromised the health and welfare of my family, our town, this nation, and God's earth. Marcus Aurelius so eloquently stated, it would be best never to have tasted deceit, hypocrisy, luxury, or pride. But the next best course would be despising these things, to push away from the table. Is not the corruption of your mind and soul a plague far more deadly than any pollution or contaminant in the air you breathe? This plague attacks us only as animals, but that destroys our humanity. I have witnessed the frustration of the people in my community and see the psychological toll inflicted upon them. I appeal to you as one human being to another, not to be the fuel which will further engulf our town in a governmental crisis of its own making while innocent people suffer. I have heard the truth in the silence of the courtroom, and it is quite apparent that the common folk is not devoid of intellect and deserves the happiness and protection promised to him under our Constitution. I wrote this, sent that along with this to Senator Whalen. Enclosed is a letter that I composed to Judge Wilson regarding the content of this correspondence. I find that you are a conscious political supporter of renewable energy, antithetical to the interests of my community and its environment. The bill you created, in its ostensibly convincing argument, has jeopardized my family directly. The responsibility to protect my family is not only fiduciary, but is my purpose in life. I seriously question the motives in a dormant turned urgent status closed landfills. I believe, and it appears, that doing nothing, then reacting radically, is a trend which has once again evoked a sense of helplessness and fear in the people of our nation. I anxiously await an explanation, not a defense, for the imputations I have set before you. I find it unconscionable that lawmakers can exploit themselves behind the laws they created, and I also believe that we will one day be held accountable for all our pretentious assertions. The truths, I believe, may or may not be evident from your perspective, but nevertheless form my reality. I invite you on a hike in a little piece of paradise that once delineated nature from man's interrogations, so you too can see and smell firsthand the destruction your bill created. This is his response. He had no choice but to respond, as I gave this to him personally. Dear Mr. Peslak, thank you for sharing your letter to Judge Wilson and to me from last January. Quite frankly, I am confused as to your point. The problem at Fenimore Landfill is not related to solar landfill law, as the idea of solar landfill was dropped by the owners in favor of reopening the site as a waste site. I would argue that a solar installation would present nowhere near the problems that exist as a result of the landfill reopening. This is where this started. This is where it started. This is where it needs to go back. This is crazy. We're talking about a Rube Goldberg life support system on our planet. And we're living this. This man is insulated from what he did. He created this. And he got everybody to vote for it. Your dad voted for it. I gave this to your father. You know what your dad said to me? In retrospect, I cannot judge this man on his intentions. It's the effects of his actions that I'm standing here today. I don't want to be here. We need to be made whole. This man needs to be held accountable for what he caused in our township. This is a direct result of someone's incompetence. This is incompetence. Period. And we as a community, these people need to be held accountable. Politics is a science.
Thank you for your comments, and if you don't mind, I'd like to get a copy of that.
I need counsel. I need counsel from someone to help me be apathetic like everyone else and make believe nothing's happened. I can't live in a world of appearances. I can't. I go to work. If I have to have a building built and that building's a foot off, I won't have a job. I live in the real world. It's not the world of appearances. I can't. I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be in the court. I don't want to watch people weave appropriate webs of rationale to support some ridiculous, mindsets. It's incredible. It's happening. It's happening, and this is a microcosm of what's happening in our country. We could change it. Right here, all of us. We're all intelligent people, every one of us here. And the words in my mouth are under every one of your tongues. I know it. I know it. I could see it. I have a keen sense of perspicuity. I could see what's happening. It's right in front of us. We have an opportunity to fix this.
Thank you.
You can have this.
Thanks. If you like, we could mail it back to you after we make a copy. Thank you. Anybody else in public wishing to hear about any issue? Yes, sir.
Bob Schultz, Randolph. Mr. Bucco, is there any reason why we can't get that video on the website? Because it was shoved back to your office because it was put on the township's website illegally. And I asked
That's being discussed in executive. I don't know if we want to go down that road.
I can just say to you right now, first of all, I don't necessarily agree that it was put on illegally. Okay? You cited to something from the YouTube, which doesn't necessarily the law of land.
Okay.
But quite frankly, you don't want it on the website. So
Actually, I do. I said you can put a link there. I gave you
permission, and I'm sure they'll be happy to put it back up.
I gave you two different options
I
to
think
put
we've
it up
posted
there.
the information. Have we posted the
I mean,
environmental
you
information?
kind of can't have it both ways.
Excuse me.
You can't say
Tony.
you can't put it up, and then complain that it's not up.
We could.
There's no credit given to the person who's filmed it, number one.
Gentlemen, please.
And I said you could as well, as long as you gave me the credit,
Thank you,
with
Bob.
no problem, or you can actually link directly to the video
What I'd like
where it
is-
exists.
What I'd like is for you to just post the report.
Oh, that's
and-
awesome.
And the environmental, I thought so too.
Yeah, that's on.
So
The report's
just
on.
double check.
I mean, report's posted.
So all the information, all the pertinent information about the testing is on the site.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
The entire report's on the site.
So then you don't want the video then? So what you said last meeting really didn't.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I didn't see anything at the last meeting.
I did not think it was going to be an issue, but apparently it was, so that's where we are now. And I think we've answered that.
How many people have watched that video? I know Fred did.
Did I ask a question?
Right?
It's in a public domain on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I'll take the non-answer
I don't
as a
remember
no.
seeing a credit for you on it, though.
Excuse me?
I don't remember seeing
No,
a credit.
there wasn't. There wasn't.
There's no credit for you on that.
Well, I filmed it. It's on my channel, so I mean that would be credit for it.
I got it off of YouTube.
Right, but YouTube, everybody has a channel. Somebody uploads those videos to that place.
Public domain.
It's not public.
Okay,
But
please.
we can sit here and argue about that all
Please,
night.
please, do you have any questions?
Did they do any water testing up there last week? Did I miss something?
No, the water test, they have conducted the water test. The water sampling has been conducted. It will be a few weeks before we get the results back.
Was that in an update before I apologize, it was a little bit late. Was that in an update before?
I have not provided an update at this time.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, we don't have the results. It's just.
No, I wouldn't expect any results if they only did them last week.
Let's be clear here, that we're hearing numbers from 2 to 6 weeks as far as getting the results back.
Yeah, but it's-
So it's gonna go, it's
It'll
gonna
be
be
a few
somewhere in
weeks.
that vicinity, Bob, just so you know.
Is there any status of the township doing any water tests or air tests? Because that was discussed last meeting as well. Of your own. There was a grant.
Mr. Mayor, can I,
Please.
because I have, we sent a letter back to the Highlands Council and appreciated their efforts in providing us the grant. We responded We've established a team administratively, which would be Mark Caputa, the health officer, Richard Blood, the Department of Public Works, and Russell Stern, the township planner, will assist to ensure conformance with the township Highlands plan and work with their staff in regards to additional testing. I think everybody is in agreement that we'll wait till we get the test results back from the DEP to determine what tests will be forthcoming. We will continue to do our, just to let you know, we will continue to do our sampling of the brook, not the brook, the actual sediment pond, as we've done every year, to drinking water standards.
Are you talking about Ledgewood Pond or the, okay.
Ledgewood Pond, we do every year. Every year it exceeds or is within drinking water standards. We post them on our website, let everybody know that. In addition to that, we're continuing to offer free tests for any of the people who have wells in the area, should they think that their drinking water has been impacted. As you know, we've probably done dozens of tests for the wells in the areas, and we've had no contaminations, other than the one area, one where we had some fecal matter, but that wasn't from the landfill. So,
What do you test for in those tests?
drinking water standards, it'll be your VOCs, it'll be your, and again,
The metals, the VOCs.
we post them on the website, so you can take a look at those as well too.
You don't
Not
post
each
the-
individual,
the-
but the
the
battery
well
test is
testing.
posted. Yeah.
You- And how about air testing? I know that grant only covered water, right? Or did it cover the air too?
It only covered one.
So is there any update on the air testing that we were talking about last meeting?
Not at this time, I'm not sure what.
That question was asked earlier in regards to the stack test, and we'll continue to pursue that.
No, I mean your own grab testing. We were talking about that last meeting, and then you were going to look into it.
I'm not aware, I wasn't here for that.
I know
I'm
you're
not
not
aware
I
of,
didn't know.
I think the thought was whether or not we could use the $35,000. First of all, I don't even know how we can use the $35,000, and I guess we'll find that out shortly, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, whether or not it was just specifically dedicated for water testing, or whether or not it could be split out and partially used for air testing. I don't know the answer to that.
I think, in some conversations, I believe it's just for water, but I don't have confirmation on that because we haven't had a response back yet as to what their team's going to consist of.
So we'll get an update next meeting.
We try to
As soon as
update.
we get more information, as soon as we get it, just like with the water test, there was nothing to update. As soon as we get information to pass on, we pass it on.
If the information was that they actually did the water tests, and I'm sitting here wasting my time up here, my 3 minutes, I only get 3 minutes, so
I've given you more than 3 minutes.
I'm aware of that, and thank you. But we'd appreciate an update before we do that, that way we don't have to ask for the update and wait for the update when we're up here.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Would anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue, please raise your hand. Yes, sir. Oh, Bob, can we wait to the next one? Good thing you're hiding behind somebody, thanks. Anybody else in the public besides Bob? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion, we'll move on. The next item up is reports of council liaison representatives, council committees, and new and old business. And I will start, as I always do, with Mr. Schmidt.
At this time, I don't have anything for Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Roszak.
Yes, I have the pleasure of representing you in the township and our citizens at the Verizon opening, ribbon cutting. We're happy to be out there at on Route 10, and that's a great little project over there with Burger King. Took a long time for the developers to come to make that happen, but it's happened, and it's a great little place. And they're happy, and we're happy to have them.
Bob Madeira's 4 Ledge Drive, 4 Narrow Drive. First of all, schools are great here, but there's a decline in enrollment. That means there's a decline in people with young families moving in.
Actually, that's a statewide issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Second of all, who's in charge of activities for the town? There's a large activity right on Main Street in Ledgewood. Anybody know about it?
In Ledgewood?
It probably is in
Main Street, Ledgewood. It's the Rhinton River headwaters
Oh,
coming in to clean up.
Clean up. It's in our notice.
I didn't hear it announced. It's being cleaned up on my birthday, and I'm gonna be there. And I'm looking for volunteers too. If you just wanna come and splash in the water, you can see the clear of it.
Sandy D'Amenico has put that out on all of our alerts as well too, so thanks, Bob. Thanks for the reminder.
And, what do I do with it? Hold up, I got 'em. I'm gonna read a statement, and at the end, there'll be a question, and I hope that you have an answer for me. If not now, by next council meeting. This is all about Poets Peak. The problem is that Township Attorney Anthony Bucco and Roxbury have no end game. If the Mayor Bucco and Rhett don't keep the residents focused on hating me, they will realize what the town fathers did to them by approving Poets Peak. Quoted by Richard Bernardi, and it's in the newspapers. My question, and I'm not a strong supporter of Richard Bernardi, but my question is, do you have an end game? There's 20 acres that is filled with garbage out of 100. That leaves 80. What's going to happen to the 80 acres that there's an old dump on? And are we in the process of investigating whether the DEP is going to do something with it? Are we in the process of rezoning it so that...
This is an easy one. This is an easy one. It's an easy one to a degree. The answer is not always great, but we don't know. I can tell you that the DEP initially has told me personally, and I believe they told Mr. Hall as well, that they do not want to do anything else with the rest of the property, and they want to just let it lie as is. But there's a lot that has to take place, and they also said they wouldn't give, and we've said this before, this has been brought up many times, that, you know, Bernardi or any other property owner getting a permit to do what transpired there is not happening. And so those are two parts of it. The last part, the biggest part is who's going to own it. That's in court. So we can't say for sure where it is now. I mean, DEP's confident, but you've seen what Judge Wilson did to us. So, you know, we can't, nothing's guaranteed at this point in time. So we can't really, I can answer it to the best of my ability, which I just did. I don't think there's anything else that can be added to it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rass, Mr. Hall, and anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, the end game has always been in sight from the very beginning.
What's the plan?
The plan
What's
is...
the plan? Excuse me,
But I
Mr.
think-
Bucco, but to answer you, Mr. Mayor, are we taking any precautions to protect ourselves from somebody else? God forbid, lightning hits a building, you're all dead. And here, somebody else comes in and a new owner walks in there and it's still sown, it's still underneath the same regulations as Mr. Bernardi walked in there and did his dirty work. Can we protect our town? Can we make some sort of legislation? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even a good engineer, but that's besides the point.
Well, as you know, the legislation is one that does not give us the ability to stop it. The last piece of legislation that Mr. Bucco sponsored, I don't know
Not
what
my
that...
sponsor, my father's sponsor.
I'm sorry, Senator Bucco, that's what I meant. I don't know how that clarifies the...
No, what I was gonna say, Mayor, is that we're
Protection,
involved.
that's all I'm looking for.
The township is involved in each piece of the litigation that is transpiring. So we have protections there. I've had similar conversations with the DAG as the mayor has had with the commissioner. And I've gotten the same answers that the mayor has gotten from them. It's all going to depend on how this litigation ends. But you have to understand, the reason that Mr. Bernardi was able to do what he did on that site was not as a result of our zoning. It was a result of the state regulations and federal regulations that allowed him to come in and do this to close a landfill under that law that was cited by the gentleman that spoke earlier. So our zoning of that property is still protected. So
Is it residential or is it commercial?
I think it's open space,
It's open
isn't it?
space which allows a residential component up to 3 acres.
Right.
But it also allows a commercial.
No.
That's,
No,
No, open space does not.
wait a second. I have a quote from Mr. Raff that we have increased from $550,000 to $11 million of taxes because it's now
It was
a
the-
fundraiser, which is
It was used as
Which
that, not
is
based
a-
upon our zoning.
not a residential, it's an industrial.
Not based upon our zoning. One exhaustive.
It's zoned open space. The state can oversee a township's zoning. That's essentially what they did in this case. They created, we can appraise property based on its income generating the revenue. That's what we did. They are not the same thing. It is not zone commercial. Okay? It is zone open space, which allows for one home per 3 acres.
Okay, you clarified that.
Yeah.
What can we do to protect ourselves so it doesn't happen again? Mr. Bucco, I'm addressing this question to you as a lawyer.
Well, I think, first of all, let me say this, I think the DEP has learned a lesson as a result of what transpired here in Roxbury under that prior law. And I
As an
don't
assembly
foresee-
person, can you make
I
some
don't-
sort of a claim or some sort of go in there and give them some of your lawyer talk and tell them it's not gonna happen again?
As I indicated to you earlier, that's why we're involved in each one of the cases, so that not only are we involved in trying to recover our losses, but we also want to be involved to make sure that the township's interests are protected in between the litigation between Mr. Bernardi and the NJDEP. But there's also communications going on between the township and the State Department of Environmental Protection. So the end result is going to be that that's going to be capped. Once that main portion is capped,
The 25 acres,
right,
not the 100.
not 100.
To 29.
Once that main portion is capped, it's my understanding, and I'm not an engineer, but it's my understanding that that would not be conducive to any type of development other than open space. The balance of that, there's still some solid waste that was deposited in the outlining area. So I think the state is now trying to decide whether or not it can be left in that condition. And if it can be, that's their favorite solution.
So you're telling me that the state or Roxbury is going in there and making a survey on the water flow and the landfill area that's not tapped
That's
to assess whether it needs capping?
That's been monitored before Bernardi,
Yeah,
and will
I'm just gonna
continue
say,
to be monitored even post Bernardi, because it's still
And this is,
uncapped.
this is what I think the good news is in regard to that. We have baseline reports that were done all the way back into the 70s when that was closed.
I know.
So
I posted 60 barrels of chemicals that they found in the 70s.
I understand.
And it's still there.
But
It's out of the cap area.
I understand, but what I'm trying to tell you is the fact that they have those baseline studies and they're able to continue to track the change in water quality is a good thing for the township. That's a good thing, because it's not like,
Any tracking, anything is good. All I'm looking for, Mr. Mayor and council, protection, that it's not gonna happen again.
Thank you, Bob.
A game
We'll
plan.
take a look at it, and I'll be more than
And a
happy.
game plan.
And I'll be more than happy to discuss some of those
Do you
other.
want a copy of my first questions, and for next meeting, you might have an answer?
I don't, you can give them to Amy for, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to be heard at this point in time? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Jump the gun here.
No, I didn't.
Okay, Bill Morocco, Lazarus Drive, Ledgewood. Just wanted to revisit a comment you said, Chris, because some people are sensitive about this issue. And, you know, when you had targeted a couple individuals that, tend to talk negative about the township, and I don't even know who you're talking about, but I could relate to some of those people. Because some of those people have to live with smoke plumes in the backyard. So no matter how great the other infrastructure is in the community, to them, no, this isn't a great place to live. I'm not affected that much by the landfill, where I live in Post Peak, believe it or not. Except the presence that is there does affects my property value. I actually had friends visit this weekend, and they knew about the whole thing. I didn't know a lot about it. We had gone out, and they had said to me, let's take a ride by this thing, show me what it is. When they saw that, and they saw the smoke coming out of it, and they said, what's coming out of that stack? I said, I don't know. They said, you got to get out of here. That's a perception of people that are not from this town. So yes, this may be a great place to live, but there's people that are living with smoke coming in their backyards. You saw the video Brenda Parr sent you. Has the DEP given a response?
Yeah, actually, she did. They did give a response. I don't know if she liked the response.
Okay, I don't know what the response was.
Yeah, they talked about the emissions.
But that's just the reality of what we're living with, and no one could tell us how long those stacks are going to be there. They told us by now, if you look at the original timeline, we're supposed to be on the iron sponge technology. Everything's been delayed. The progress has been delayed, the timeline has been delayed.
Bill, I'm not going to deliberate with you. You asked a question, I responded. This is a great community. There may be some people who, no matter where they live in the community, may be negatively impacted by a lot of things in this community. Obviously, there are some people impacted by the landfill. But it's a great community.
I'm not deliberating with you, but I'm telling you.
It's unfortunate that you weren't here when we went through and gave our updates, and we talked about all of the other things that are going on in this community in Roxbury Township other than the Fenimore landfill. So maybe, and it's just a suggestion, you want to sit through some of the other great things that are coming on and listen to some of the other great things that are going on in this community.
I'm aware of those things. I read everything you send me, all the updates.
Good.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that you need to relate to these people that have to live up there.
Bill, without question, from day one, with broken hearts many times.
Okay.
And we've been fighting it.
That's all I'm
And you
saying.
know that. And you know
That's
that.
all I'm saying is that you can't say there's a group of
You know
people
that.
that are critical. I'm saying you have to relate to these
I
people.
don't think we said
I
that.
know you guys don't live up there, but I'm telling you, it's not pleasant. So I have two more quick things. The water testing the DEP is doing, how they submitted to you a testing plan?
Actually, they responded to the public to a question from one of your folks in regards to that in an email with the tests. So if they haven't shared that with you, I'll see if we can get that to you as well too. I believe it was to Kathy Panetta, which they gave
A
it
couple
back.
weeks ago, Bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
I haven't seen anything, but I would expect that you would want to see a testing plan. I mean, they're going to give you results, but what was the testing all about?
So take a look at that.
Okay. The last thing I have is unrelated to Fenimore. This has to do with the intersection of Route 46 and Drake's Lane. There's a traffic light there.
You mean Commerce?
Commerce Boulevard.
No, the traffic light over by Legends Car Wash on Route 46, over by Cliffs.
Okay.
It's not the Drake's Lane.
That's Drake's Lane, I believe.
No.
It's not?
But okay, we know
Okay.
where you are, yeah.
That traffic light, when you're traveling during rush hour, going west, more times than not, it's backed up all the way to the traffic light before, and it's just gridlocked.
Yeah.
And my observation is that the traffic that wants to come the other way and make the U-turn, it's never backed up there. So I think that light could easily be a minute longer in the Route 46 direction. It wouldn't affect the people that are trying to make left turns and U-turns, because that little roundabout there is never backed up.
Okay.
I think the light needs to. I think it should be reviewed, and possibly the light should be.
Okay, that all the lights on 46 and Route 10 are controlled by the NJDOT. We'll ask them to take a look at this signalization.
But it's fair point. We've pointed out other issues, so we'll point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue in the back?
Hi, Laurel Whitney again, 7 Longfellow. Going back to the oxidizer that's not up to speed, I know that you said that you didn't know why it hasn't been brought up to speed yet. You said they're doing it slowly. Can we do a little more investigation as to why it hasn't gone up to speed yet? Is it because there's so much gas that they're afraid of the flammability of it, that it might cause a fire? Have you heard anything to that effect?
No, absolutely not.
And I spoke to one of the handling workers up there a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was just a matter of fact of getting it slowly up, turning on different wells at different times to see where they're pulling the most out of. It's just an operational issue.
It's a balancing issue.
No, I disagree.
I'm just telling you what they
I
have.
just-
But to answer your
It's
question
proven
directly,
fact.
no.
It's proven fact that if they draw too much gas, it's gonna
It's not
get
your
on
turn.
fire.
It's not your turn. Sorry.
No, you don't know if that's
No,
the
no, you
reason,
asked,
or
you asked
you're
if it would-
sure?
No, you asked if they're concerned about whether it would cause a fire. No, they've never expressed that.
Okay, so the reason that they're doing it slowly is for testing purposes?
I believe they're trying to integrate it into it, so we'll try, as the mayor
Yeah, it
said,
just
we can
sounds
get more
vague, it sounds like
clarification
it's
on it.
taking longer than originally planned.
We can try to get additional clarification, but the answer to the question is no, there was no concerns about creating a fire or explosives.
And I know in the last meeting, Bob had also mentioned the letter that he had from the 70s, I believe it was the 70s, regarding the barrels of oil and the dry cleaning chemicals. And I know you got a copy of that and you sent it on to Mr. Putnam, correct?
And Mr. Putnam responded that the testing that they were doing for the groundwater would be consistent to find anything that may have been in barrels from 30, 40 years ago, if there was anything in it.
Have you had that information
Yeah,
prior to?
He's contacted me about that.
Mr. Putnam's contacted you about
Yeah,
that?
he and I spoke about it, that's correct.
Prior to Bob sending you that letter?
No.
Oh, so that was the first time you've actually seen that?
Correct. Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay, that's very enlightening that something like that can be sitting around with such an important issue and it just surfaced.
Well, no, actually, they had numerous reports, in the last one in 2005. If you go on and look at the Berger report in 2005, they noted exposed barrels as well too. And they also indicated, again, that there was no immediate hazard from the landfill facility, and they did their testing as well too. So you can take a look at that, they note that as well too. So they've been known for a while.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Bob Schultz. For the water testing that they just completed up there, did they use all monitoring wells? The new ones and the old ones?
They used 5 monitoring wells, 3 new ones, 2 old ones.
Is that all that's up there now that are actually working? You don't know?
He doesn't know.
Okay, sorry, he was drinking, so I didn't hear his answer. Is there any status on getting the old council meetings on the website, Amy?
We're getting there. I mean,
I hadn't checked, so.
Talking about the minutes?
Yeah, the minutes from 2013, 14.
there are about 36 meetings, there's about 10 posted, there's 2 more that were approved tonight, so it's 12. We're working on it. I know it's taking
Time consuming.
too long. But we're trying to keep up
The
to
over
date.
request had put a lot of strain on our office too, so they fell behind some issues.
Did you guys hire an extra body to help out with that? 'Cause I know that was.
We put some dollars in the budget to address that, yes.
But the problem is too, Bob, that I'll get an Oprah request that is so extensive that you have to drop everything, and that's what's been happening. And we literally have more Oprah requests right now than we had in all of 2012 for this year. So I mean, it's quadrupled, and they're not simple requests. They're not asking for things that, you know, I would be happy to show anybody what they are asking for.
It's Amy's biggest concern. She brings it up during the budget process. We did agree to move forward with some additional hours. We don't have unlimited funds. We're not going to hire a staff of 20 people to answer Oprah requests. So we're trying, but I apologize for the minutes. I know she's been trying real hard to express that to me personally, so.
Are those all dealing just with general stuff, or is it Fenimore, if you
What,
can say?
the minutes?
The Oprahs that you're all getting.
Oh, no,
I was
it's
I was
it's
curious.
not, it's not just,
It's pretty much across the board.
Yeah,
across the board.
But we'll get things like, I'll get a request for, who knows what, 20 different items, and we answer them all, and then the person will maybe come back and say, oh, I lost some, can you send them again? No, I want you to print them all out and resend them to me again in a scan document. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I can put, you know,
There's a, you
I
don't have
can
to
do a
get
list.
each one.
But that's
There's
just
an
a-
abuse of the system as well,
it's,
so.
yeah, it's not just somebody trying, we believe in transparency here more than any other municipality. We've had people come in here and compliment us from the media and different places. We've never seen anybody be so cooperative in all the departments, so it's hard that this is happening, but we'll deal with it.
Well, thanks for your hard work. So. 3 minutes is up.
No problem.
I heard a whisper.
We got a few more seconds.
That's it.
And the last thing was, you weren't at the last meeting, Mayor, but I asked for a resolution from the township to ask the New Jersey Highlands Council to add Teresa Carluccio to the the Fenimore Water Commission that's coming in to study all the water aspects. Is there any, I guess Mr. Barons would have to answer that, not you.
I was just gonna say, Mayor, I would recommend that you not address that issue.
Yeah, I won't. I will just say it is the, as a policy issue, it's at the discretion of the chairman, who is Kurt Alstead in this particular case.
Right. And what I was asking for was a resolution from the township to support getting Tracy on that, because she would be the best person and the most experienced with water issues to get a favorable outcome and summary for the township.
I mentioned it to the director, and she said they had their committee in place and that they were comfortable with the committee.
So then the answer is a no, you wouldn't want to do a resolution even though you talked to them. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else in the public? Yes, sir.
This is not on Fenimore. Ralph and Happy Landing. Earlier you said, what is your status on the council, the Highlands Council, Mr. Mayor?
Chairman.
Did you say you relinquished that just recently?
I'm saying,
You still are chairman?
yes.
Oh, you are? I thought there was a change, that you made some change.
Did I,
As to your status, your position on Highland Council.
no, my position on the Highlands Council hasn't changed.
Okay, thank you.
But it just that I had to step down on this issue.
Oh, it was on just this, that's what it
Yes.
was. Okay, thank you.
On the Highlands Council side.
I should have made that clearer, that's what I
I can
meant,
still be
yes.
proactive from the municipality.
Thank you, that's what I meant, thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. I believe we do have an executive session. What are the executive session items, please?
Sure. Litigation, Middlestat versus the township, and potential land acquisition, block 4002, lot 5.
And one more.
Then,
Oh, hold on. 400 lot 2, block 5,
Thank you.
and block 10101, block, it's the entire tract.
What were the two block numbers? Could you repeat them, please?
4002, lot 5, and block 10, no, where's the other? And block 10101.
Block 1010.
01, correct.
What?
There's, yeah, it's just right here.
That's lot 20.
Lot 20.
Lot 20.
A portion of lot 20 and a portion of lot 27, it looks like.
Tony, if email is gonna be a problem, should we talk about that too, in executive?
that's a public something. And I think you should ask Mr. Bucco, not in executive because it's probably a public
Okay.
conversation.
All right. Can I ask you now? I'm concerned with our committees having personal email accounts. We talked about this before. In light of what's going on with the over request from Amy, somebody at some point in time is going to come in and ask for an email from the planning board, and then whoever's going to have to go find that member and get their personal emails, it could be a quagmire.
Well, I can say this, that if you have committee people using their personal emails, it does open up their personal accounts to
Well, that's my-
over requests. That's correct.
We at the computer committee, will talk about putting these people on township email accounts.
I would suggest that you do that and that they limit those accounts to their, just strictly to their work with the township,
I was
because
kind
they
of
are
surprised
subject to Oprah.
that it hasn't gotten past what we talked about earlier on this committee. But we will do that. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Anything else for executive?
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Reed?
Whereas it is deemed appropriate, the Township Council discuss the matters hereinafter mentioned without the presence of the public in accordance with the provisions of RS 10:4-12B, Section B of the Open Public Meetings Act. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council
Of the Township of Roxbury as follows. Matters relating to Middlestat versus litigation, Middlestat versus Township of Roxbury, and potential land acquisition, block 4002, lot 5, and block 10101, portions of block 20 and 27.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
So, your committee members, it's subpoenaed for the emails. Yeah, just say, quit. That's not the account.
I have one question.
That's just, that's not the account.
Can I ask a question now or after?
This level is not.
What do you need?
The Route 10 project. So DOT has given up on that idea, is that right?
That's why I was asking. I heard, I didn't hear.
You didn't, oh, because he made it sound like they said, oh, no.
It seemed to be different, I think.
The Route 10.
We have not heard back anything from them, but I can tell you that with our objections that, well, no, I haven't heard back. When I do, I'll let you know.
But now they're saying that they had, they're not sure.
Fred, do you want any of these papers that we print out for you? I don't know, just because they have. We'll be changing to do it. Oh, good. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Does anybody need to do anything or jump in? Okay.
No, anytime, go.
We gotta get out of here.
My ear is dead.